Good evening, everyone. It's Joshua. I did some math this evening that I thought you might find interesting. So let me start off with the title. Okay. Well, Septegigahedron is a word that I coined tonight. It's a word that I am sure has probably been used somewhere, somehow before, but that's going to be a Carpo word. And I googled it afterward, and I couldn't find a single reference to it. The idea is that a septegigahedron. A septa is the root word for seven. You know, when we talk about septenaries, we talk of groups of seven. You know, the 7 days, the 7 prophets, 7 whatever. And giga obviously means billion, and the hedron means faces. So when you talk of, say, an octahedron, that would be 8 faces. When you speak of a gigahedron, it's 1,000,000 faces. So a septegigahedron would be 7 million faces. Now on the planet Earth, we recently exceeded 7 billion people. The last estimate was approximately 7.111 billion, 7.111 billion people on the planet. So each person represented by the facet on a jewel would be septegigahedron. So you can go as far as to utilize that as kind of a platform for where I'm coming from here. This jewel that we're all faces of, and that we're all part of. And now picture a diamond with all of its nice polished surfaces. And if all of those surfaces are working together and they're all carved perfectly and properly, and none of them are smeared or marred, it will make a perfect reflection. If one of those faces gets smeared or damaged, not only will that face not reflect any longer, but it will also cause the light that's refracting through the hole of the diamond to refract less off of the other faces. Thereby, when one face is damaged on the crystal, it compounds the problem. I look at humanity the same way, that we are a crystal. Everything in nature is reflective crystalline substance. Everything takes on a shape. Every virus is a shape. Everything is based on geometry. Everything in nature is sacred geometry. So a particular shape of humanity would be the septegigahedron. So if one person's if one person's not thinking correctly, you can see that as a marred face within the whole. Not only is that person affected, but the people in his immediate environment, where the light would reflect in the diamond. And you could look at this identically as you would the light in a diamond, because this energy that's being passed through us is light energy. So everything that we are is light. And when you look at it on a level, you can see that humanity is working as a group, and it's important. So no one person can opt out or choose to leave the whole and have it not affect multiple sources. It's just like when a person dies. It's a chain reaction of grief that it causes within families, and then the person misses work because of their grief, and then it causes grief for the boss at work because he's in it. You know, it's a butterfly effect to the extreme, and everything that we do has a reaction. So the idea is to get this jewel polished up, to get all of us working in unison and kind of realizing where we really come from. In the sense that what we need to be doing to get along with one another. So I was curious tonight, and I did some interesting math equations based on the size of the Earth, the amount of people that live on the Earth, and exactly how much space do we have per person. And I did the math multiple different ways in order to make sure that I had a pretty round idea. And here's what I came up with. I took the actual livable land on the Earth's surface, divided it by the amount of people on the planet, broke it down from square miles down to square footage. I wanted to know if every developable spot of land was developed. And each person that exists on Earth had their own space of land, but only livable land. How much space would each person have? And the actual space is rather staggering. It's not as much as many people would think. I came out with 444 by 444 feet, approximately. That was, and I dug that triple digit, so I stuck with it. I believe that the total was 200,000 square feet per person of land. And that sounds like a lot offhand, but really it's like 100 modest houses. So if you think of those houses packed together, that's not a lot of space. Now this obviously doesn't even include needed farmland, infrastructure, all the different things that make a society run. So you start adding in all these factors and it gets a lot smaller, a lot faster. So you guess your space, 500 by 500 feet of livable space. But the reason why I wanted to know this is because when I'm looking at the Earth and looking at humans as a jewel, I see the Earth as a grid system itself. I mean, they talk about the ley lines or the Earth grid, and it has its own facets. And I'm not sure exactly how many faces the Earth grid really has. But if you consider all the humans, and there's 7 billion humans, and you have this, Septegigahedron, how much sky space, how much airspace does each person have on Earth? Because of course this includes all the air over the sea, all the air over land. And what it comes down to is approximately a quarter mile by 1/4 mile. 1/4 mile squared. And that's not very big. I mean, that's how much sky space per person. And so the reason why that was so interesting to me is because when I see and picture each person as having their radiating energy passing out through the Earth's grid system, however that works, that means each person's energy is covering approximately 1 square mile. Is that right? No, I'm sorry. See, if it was a quarter of a mile, then it would be 1/16 of a mile. 1/16 of a square mile. Or 1,200 by 1,200 feet. It's really irrelevant. It's just numbers and ideas. But it gives people a perspective of how large we really are. Because we see ourselves packing into cities and we see all this land and think there's all this extra space. But this jewel, this idea of these facets, it's the way that I've been looking at humanity for a long time now. And there are structures that hold us all together, geometric shapes, as well as smaller groups, states, nations, communities, and down to the family unit, where you have a particular shape that your family takes on. There's going to be a structure and a geometric structure to each relationship between each person and each family. There's even a geometric relationship between each cell in the body. And this is the fascinating thing, because they've found that viruses themselves take on the shape of geometric patterns. Now, octahedrons, dodecahedrons, they all have a structure that is based on geometry. And they're finding that most things in nature do. Nature follows certain patterns that work, like the phi ratio. And we've got 1.618, and then we have all these other smaller divisions that we learn about, like pi and 3.141, and we've got the golden mean. And we've become so fascinated with geometry that we've been able to apply it to about everything. And no matter how small you break things down, it ultimately gets down to electron level and beyond. And you can kind of see that all these electrons work in conjunction in order to create a type of electric atmosphere or an energy which we call the collective, or the collective consciousness. And it's really fascinating to no end. When I first got into these subjects about the idea behind some of the ideas behind the electron connection between people and collective consciousness, I delved deep for years looking into this stuff, and I was really surprised with how little information there really is for a person who really wants to know. I mean, you can dig, and it's just, it's endless searching, but it's just a lot of speculation. So that leads to my conclusion, or my point, which is that we leave things up to the experts because we think that people are experts on a particular situation. We're all facets on this jewel. So each one of us has an equal say and needs to shine like the rest in order to keep the beauty flowing, I guess. And there's no voice too small or too weak or too frail or no ego that's too wispy or too strong. People can find their niche and find a way that they can try to influence those around them to take a deeper look at what it means to see beyond the illusion that we're here for gain, or the illusion that we're here for gain of materials. And the hope is that we can move into, ease ourselves into a new generation that's able to live with the current infrastructure in place and allow it to work to the benefit of all of us. Because everything has a structure behind it, and we can't completely collapse our society in order to rebuild it. It just doesn't work that way. It's too many people have to die, and we can't close our eyes to that. So the best we can do is put forth effort and realize that we are all part of this jewel, and that each one of us is connected by so many more bonds than we could ever see or measure. And it's a fascinating world to live in. So don't forget, the next time you hear Septegigahedron, you'll remember what it was.